Warren G. Harding, President from March 4th, 1921 to August 2nd, 1923. Warren G. Harding was born on November 2nd, 1865 in Corsica, Ohio, now known as Brooming Grove. To many, including himself, Harding enjoyed an idyllic American childhood, growing up in a small town, attending a run-room schoolhouse, enjoying summers at the local creek, and performing in the village band. At age 14, Harding attended Ohio Central College, where he edited the campus newspaper and became an accomplished public speaker. After graduation in 1882, he taught in a country school and sold insurance. Also, he and two friends purchased the Marin Daily Star newspaper in Marin, Ohio. Under Harding's control, the paper struggled for a time, but later prospered, due to his good-natured manner and strong sense of community. His 1891 marriage to Florence Kling de Wolfe, a wealthy divorcee with a keen business eye and ample financial resources, also helped the paper to prosper. Harding avoided printing stories critical to others and shared company profits with employees. In 1898, at his wife's urging, Harding began a political career. That year, he won a seat in the Ohio legislature, serving 2 terms. An unwavering conservative Republican with a vibrant speaking voice, Harding did favors for city bosses who, in turn, helped him advance in Ohio politics. In 1903, he became lieutenant governor and served for 2 years before returning to the newspaper business. Harding won an election to the U.S. Senate in 1914 after an unsuccessful campaign for governor. As a senator, he actively supported business interests and advocated for protective tariffs. Like other Republicans at the time, he opposed Woodrow Wilson's 14 Points Peace Plan and supported prohibition. Although Harding held strong views on major issues of the time, he did not often participate in the legislative process. In 1920, political insider and friend Harry Daughtry began to promote Harding for the Republican presidential nomination. Daughtry believed that Harding looked like a president, as his upbringing was homegrown American, was well known by Republican leaders, had no major political enemies, and represented the critically important state of Ohio. During the campaign, Harding pledged to return the country to normalcy. Using cliches and lofty speeches, Harding easily won the election, gaining 61% of the popular vote and winning 37 of 48 states in the Electoral College. He was the first sitting senator to be elected president. Harding's administration was determined to roll back the momentum of progressive legislation that had taken place for the past 20 years. He personally overturned or allowed Congress to reverse many policies of the Wilson administration and improved tax cuts on higher incomes and protective tariffs. His administration supported limiting immigration and ending spending controls that had been during World War I. Harding also signed the Budget and Accounting Act of 1921, which allowed the president to submit a unified budget to Congress. The act furthermore established the General Accounting Office to audit government expenditures. Additionally, Harding personally championed civil liberties for African Americans and supporting liberalizing farm credit. In foreign affairs, as in domestic policy, Harding delegated much responsibility to several key cabinet members. Secretary of State Charles Evans Hughes worked with Treasury Secretary Andrew Mellon and Department of Congress head Herbert Hoover to elevate American banking to a global position. They negotiated trade deals to acquire rubber in Malaya and oil in the Middle East. The Harding administration also played an important role in rebuilding Europe after World War I and in establishing an open-door trading policy in Asia. But as president, Harding often seemed overwhelmed by the burdens of office, stating he wished there was a manual to help him. He frequently confided to friends that he wasn't prepared for the presidency. He worked hard and tried to keep his campaign promise of naming the best man for the job. He awarded high-level positions to political supporters, but the results were mixed at best. While Hughes, Mellon, and Hoover were very effective, several other high-level appointees, known as the Ohio Gang, proved to be unscrupulous and corrupt, paving the way for scandal. Before his nomination, Warren G. Harding declares, "America's present need is not heroics, but healing, not nostrums, but normalcy, not revolution, but restoration, not agitation, but adjustment, not surgery, but a serenity, not the dramatic, but the dispassionate, not experiment, but equipoise, not submergence and internationality, but sustainment and triumphant nationality." By 1923, the post-war depression seemed to be giving way to a new surge of prosperity, and newspapers hailed Harding as a wise statesman carrying out his campaign promise: less government and business and more business and government.
My countrymen, there isn't anything the matter with the world's civilization except that humanity is viewing it through a vision impaired in a cataclysmal war.
Ronald Reagan, President from January 20th, 1981 to January 20th, 1989. Ronald Wilson Reagan was born on February 6, 1911, in Tamco, Illinois. During Reagan's early childhood, his family lived in a series of towns, finally settling in Dixon, Illinois in 1920, where his family opened a shoe store. In 1928, Reagan graduated from Dixon High School, where he was an athlete, the student body president, and performed in school plays. Enrolling at Eureka College in Illinois on an athletic scholarship, Reagan majored in economics and sociology. There, he played football, ran track, captained the swim team, served as student council president, and acted in school productions. After graduating in 1932, he found work as a radio sports announcer in Iowa. In 1937, Reagan signed a 7-year contract with the movie studio Warner Bros. Over the next 3 decades, he appeared in more than 50 films. During World War II, Reagan was disqualified from combat duty due to poor eyesight and spent his time in the Army making training films. He left the military ranked as a captain. As Reagan's film career began to plateau, he landed a job as host of the weekly television drama series The General Electric Theater in 1954. Part of his responsibility as the host was to tour the United States as a public relations representative for GE. It was during that time that his political views shifted from liberal to conservative. He led pro-business discussions, speaking out against excessive government regulation and wasteful spending. After making the unsuccessful campaign for the Republican presidential nomination in 1968 and 1976, Reagan finally received it in 1980. In the election, he defeated Democratic nominee President Jimmy Carter, winning the Electoral College 489 to 49 and capturing 51% of the popular vote. At age 69, Reagan was the oldest person elected to the U.S. presidency at the time. In his inaugural speech on January 20th, 1981, Reagan announced that government is not the solution to our problems, government is the problem. He called for an era of national renewal and hoped that America will again be a beacon of hope for those who do not yet have freedom. President Reagan advanced a number of conservative policies. Tax cuts were implemented to stimulate the United States economy, increased military spending, and reduced social programs and measures that deregulated business. By 1983, the nation's economy had begun to recover, and according to many economists, entering a 7-year period of prosperity. The most prominent issue in Reagan's presidency was the Cold War. Dubbing the Soviet Union the evil empire, he started a massive buildup of U.S. weapons and troops. He also implemented the Reagan Doctrine, which provided aid to anti-communist movements in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. In 1983, he announced the Strategic Defense Initiative to develop space-based weapons to protect America from Soviet nuclear missiles. During his second term, Reagan forged a diplomatic relationship with Mikhail Gorbachev, chairman of the Soviet Union. In 1987, the Americans and Soviets signed a historic agreement to eliminate intermediate-range nuclear missiles. He also spoke at Germany's Berlin Wall and challenged Gorbachev to tear it down.
General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, If you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
More than 2 years later, Gorbachev allowed the people of Berlin to dismantle the wall, ending Soviet domination of East Germany. At the end of his time in office, Ronald Reagan viewed with satisfaction that achievements of his initiative program, the Reagan Revolution, which aimed to reinvigorate the American people and reduce their reliance upon the government, he felt he had fulfilled his campaign pledge to restore the great, confident roar of American progress and growth and optimism.